SIL forbade me from attending her party because I'm an outsider. I informed her fiancé about her covert meeting with her ex-boyfriend. She blames me for wrecking her life. My sister-in-law Eleanor, 28F, and I, 28F, never got along. We were buddies in college, but we had a fallout and have been bitter ever since. 2 years after graduating, I started seeing her brother Carson, 30M, my husband. I've been married to him for 3 years, so I can't ignore her. Since we were obliged to see one other at family gatherings and holidays, we had this uncomfortable tension. She periodically visited her brother, but happily, my husband realized that we didn't get along and I didn't have to spend more time with her than necessary. We've handled things that way for 5 years since we started dating. I've always tried to keep things civil, but she often made bizarre statements and tried to put me down in public, which irritated me. I would whack her back, starting a tragic catfight. My husband's family noticed, but they were smart enough to dismiss it. After repeated requests, Carson spoke to his sister, admonished her, and so on, but it was useless. I'm ignoring each other like reasonable people who don't like each other, since she's had something against me since we had a fallout in college, and didn't enjoy us acting civilized in public. Thus, she had to sink to unnecessary lengths and shoot me whenever she could. I stopped listening to this BS, and avoided her, or avoided occasions where she would be. It was unusual since her behavior made the rest of the family uncomfortable around us. I ignored her instead of responding, and I don't think she liked it. Because the last 2 family gatherings, she tried to harass me into responding, but I pretended I couldn't hear her. I realized her typical methods were no longer effective. She escalated to texting me. I would have disregarded that too, but then I observed something that didn't set right, and I informed those who needed to know about Eleanor. I don't know what to do now that I'm getting hated for it. 2 weeks ago, Eleanor and her fiancé, Jake, 33M, bought a Cabo vacation property for themselves, which is good for her. Jake is a successful heart surgeon, so they can afford it. Eleanor works in a bank and is in our tax bracket, but she pretends to be better than us because of her rich fiancé. She announced the purchase of that vacation property on social media, but I don't follow her. That's why she texted me to tell me. She emailed me that she bought this and sent me plenty of images of the interior and exterior, which were lovely. I didn't know how to react given our relationship. Leaving the message unread was my choice. I pondered applauding her because responding to her seemed pointless. I was right because when she realized I wouldn't contact her back, she told me. She was hosting a party for everyone she knew, including my husband. She texted me to let me know that she hoped I was cool with not inviting me because I was an outsider and not linked to her by blood or a friend. She also said she sent me those photos so I wouldn't feel like I missed out on a great vacation home. It was pretentious, and I don't have time for it, so I told her I was fine and she could invite anyone. I didn't care and muted her texts. Carson was invited to her party, but I wasn't. She was disappointed when Carson said he wouldn't attend the party, instead of acknowledging that he was obviously going to take my side. Because I was his wife and I was right, she blamed me for his absence at the party and texted Carson that she was disappointed that he skipped her party because I wasn't invited. She said that I had an issue with her, thus it was unreasonable of him to treat her this way. It was a lie since I've never tried to manipulate her, she's always tried to get under my skin. Carson and I had no time for this drama, so we stopped talking to her. However, a few days after the party, she reached out to me again, and I couldn't ignore it. She hadn't invited elder family members, but everyone our age had been there and appeared to enjoy it. It was hectic with college pals at the party. Jake was unwell at the last minute and couldn't attend the party, but he didn't want her to cancel, so she attended. Eleanor was lucky, as I'll explain later. The day after the party, I was just crawling through my messages idly when I saw that I had received another group of images from her. And when I opened her conversation, out of curiosity, I saw that they were images of the party. They were all over social media anyway, since a lot of our family members had been invited and I could see that they had placed it on their account as well. She also sent them to me personally for peek. She even said she sent me those photographs to make me feel less of a loser because she didn't want me to miss a nice party. Since I was there, that really bothered me. She couldn't stand our attempts to stay courteous. When I saw those photographs in her letter, I was furious and half considered blocking her and giving my husband an ultimatum. Either we could genuinely stop communicating with Eleanor or I would never see his family again. Since she kept riled me up, I couldn't take it anymore. However, while looking over the photos, I noticed someone from college in the background of some. However, I would never expect him at Eleanor's events. For context, Eleanor's ex-boyfriend from college, Hank, was in the background of some of those party photos. They had a very public on and off relationship for almost 5 years, 3 years of college and 2 more years after that after. Everyone thought they were done. Obviously not if he was at her party. I didn't understand why he was at the party. Jake and Eleanor had been together for almost 3 years, so she had no reason to keep in touch or invite him. Instead of asking Eleanor about those images, I contacted 2 of our college friends who had been at the party to find out what was going on. Interesting, they told me that nobody anticipated him to be there because they had broken up 2 years after graduation and hadn't spoken since. Others informed me that Eleanor and Hank split up because he wasn't serious enough about the relationship, and they had several issues in their last 6 months together. Because of his infidelity, she ended things with him permanently. She met Jake a year after their breakup and they've been dating since. They told me that Eleanor and Hank had seemed close at the party and that she had told everyone that they were just friends now. They were trying to make things right because they wanted to stay on good terms and not bring up the past. Nobody believed that since Jake was not at the party, and they were pretty sure that Eleanor had made a last-minute change to the guest list after he found out that Jake would not be there, and she had blindly trusted a bunch of people she had barely spoken to in the past 2 years after we graduated. It was none of their business, so nobody said anything. No secrets were preserved when I asked about it either. After discovering the truth, I decided to talk to Jake. Before proceeding, it seemed better to discuss it with Eleanor first. I thought I'd let her know I'll bring this up so she can prepare mentally. I texted her that I knew she had asked Hank to the party and was wondering if Jake was aware of their past or that she had invited him. She was astonished and wrote me, asking me how I knew since I hadn't been at the party, so I emailed her the images she sent me and highlighted Hank in a couple of them, hiding in the background. I waited a few minutes, but then she sent me a long message about how she and Hank were trying to stay friends since she didn't want conflict with her past. To invite our entire college buddy group to the wedding, she wanted to include him. Even though he was her ex-boyfriend, he was a wonderful friend to her, and that was all. Since she trusted the party guests and knew they wouldn't tell Jake, she didn't believe it would be a huge concern. She still wanted me to keep quiet because she hadn't told Jake yet. She knew he wouldn't enjoy hearing about this from someone else, so she told me to be quiet, and then she'd talk to Jake. I asked her why she hadn't told Jake yet, expecting an honest answer because I was willing to keep her secret, but she was unpleasant and told me it wasn't my business. She also told me not to stick my nose where it doesn't belong and to be quiet till she spoke to herself. Please understand that I was willing to preserve her secret if she was pleasant to me for a long. I think anyone in her situation would have had the wisdom to do so, especially because I have something I can use against them. But when I saw her messages, I was so upset that I texted Jake right away and told him everything. After telling him everything and putting it in, I banned Eleanor and switched off my phone to avoid entertaining anyone. I was annoyed and only turned my phone on when I arrived home. Eleanor and my in-laws had left messages. Everyone was furious that I told Jake and argued I had no right to intervene in their personal life. My in-laws are largely disappointed and said there was no reason for me to talk to Jake about unimportant stuff only to fight. Eleanor said he was outraged when I told her she had invited Hank to the party, and they are in a big quarrel. She blames me for everything. But I guess I wouldn't have interfered if she had been kind and not taken that stone. She's always tried to put me down, so this was my limit. She had an attitude towards me even though I was attempting to help her, which bothered me, so I went out of my way to tell Jake and cause drama. I don't see anything wrong with it. Carson feels I should have let things go, though. He thinks I should have blocked her and moved on instead of indulging her. He's on my side, so he's not talking to his family. He doesn't think I should apologize, but he thinks I should at least admit that what I did was unnecessary. I agree with him that what's happening is high school drama. I DA for telling my sister-in-law's fiancé she invited her ex-boyfriend to her party? Edit, I guess there was a misunderstanding. My husband would never compel me to interact with his relatives. Every family gathering and occasion where my sister-in-law was expected was my choice. He never told me I had to attend these gatherings with him. He had repeatedly told Eleanor that her behavior with me was inappropriate and that she needed to change. She never heeded him. I didn't want him to have any contact with his family because it would be unpleasant, so I know a lot of people think he's been unfair to me and always supported his sister. Not so. I promise you that, because otherwise we wouldn't be together. Please don't worry about my treatment in this marriage. He loves me and prioritizes me. Update 1. After some introspection, I realized what I did was needless, as Carson mentioned. Eleanor needed to realize that she can't always walk all over me. We had catfights before I ignored her, but nothing works with her. She can't tolerate it until she gets a reaction that makes someone cry or suffer because of her. I wasn't going to give up and let her get away with it this time, which was disappointing for her. Carson understands my perspective, but it doesn't change the fact that it's still high school. Since I won't apologize if I'm incorrect, we've chosen to agree to disagree. That's because the person I need to apologize to is unworthy. I know they're still fighting a week after I told Jake about the party. My in-laws say I shouldn't have meddled, so Carson and I aren't talking to his family. We will relax for a time and see what happens. Eleanor can't text me now because I blocked her. Carson blocked her also once she opted to annoy him instead of me. She texted him nonstop, hoping to turn him against me and get him to leave. She tried to blame me, but she had invited her previous boyfriend to a party she was holding in a vacation property she bought with her fiancé. So many things are wrong with that. Otherwise, now that Jake knows the truth, which I doubt she would tell him otherwise, he can decide if he wants to spend his life with Eleanor. Update 2: I informed Jake about what happened 12 days ago and today. I finally learned he was postponing the engagement. They're not breaking up, as they told me and everyone else, but they won't get married this year. Since our argument, the family group had remained silent. Then they stated this: "Don't know if it's the right call, but it's his." Eleanor is furious because she had been bragging to everyone that she would get married this year and travel on a fabulous honeymoon to the Greek islands. I think she'll have to wait a while. Carson told me that yesterday she had reached out to him through a fake account to tell him that he was making a mistake by staying with me and that he needed to leave me ASAP to improve his life. We haven't spoken recently. Since I told Jake the truth, I think she's overreacting. However, she is trying to get in my way and provoke Carson. My spouse is smart enough to recognize she's simply trying to get under my skin, but I believe it's unhealthy and odd. It almost seems like she's obsessed with me and can't make me happy. I hope she arrives at our doorstep so I can get a protective order against her, because she's acting irrationally. Neither her parents nor anyone else could rationalize this behavior. Even though I'm not friends with my in-laws, I'll notify them if she does this again. I've endured her BS long enough and can't anymore. She must have lost it if she bothers me with funny accounts and whatnot. She's also slandering me to our college pals, but I don't care, because nobody's taking her seriously. Since so many of you have asked about our college fallout, I believe it's time to tell you what caused it. We were buddies in college because we were in the same year and department. We were geography majors and had a friendship in the first year, but it ended in the second. Because we were initially close. I made many other acquaintances, and she instantly joined mine by association. My buddies contacted me one night to invite me to dinner and drinks. Eleanor was not invited, because it was someone's birthday and they weren't close enough to invite her. When she realized we had gone out without her the next day, she was furious with me. She said I should have called her and invited her out since this was her friend's circle. I thought it was petty of her, and more importantly, it was someone else's birthday, so I couldn't just invite her out even though she wasn't close to the birthday person. We resolved that fight, and I thought everything would be fine. But she started trying to turn my friends against me and spreading mean rumors about me. Like I was talking crap about everyone I called a friend, and saying nasty things about them. I started losing friends, and when I found out she was behind it, I confronted her and had a horrible public battle. Since then, we have not been friends, and when I started dating Carson, I was skeptical that she would stay with me given her grudges. Carson and I loved each other, so we made it work despite her early attempts to break up. When I started dating Carson, I was eager to leave our college animosity behind us, because I thought it was too juvenile to take into our adult lives. However, she refused to let go of the past, even when I attempted to be her friend when I started dating Carson. She rejected all my efforts, and then I decided not to try to befriend her, because it was evident that she wanted to fight with me and prolong our bizarre and petty rivalry. Since then, our relationship has improved but never been repaired. Not my fault, I'd blame her. Update 3. I haven't spoken to Eleanor since our major quarrel almost 3 months ago. After 1 month, we had no touch. I thought she'd leave it go and not cause additional trouble. Carson and I have avoided all family gatherings since then, and we haven't spoken to his parents since they made it apparent they are on and blaming me for Eleanor and Jake's situation. I'm grateful to a couple of cousins who believe I'm not at fault for keeping us in touch after we were cut off from that side of the family. After 2 days, Eleanor arrived at our house to tell us Jake had broken off the engagement and their relationship. I originally refused to let her in, but she kept beating on the door, and Carson was getting tired of it, so he opened it and let her in. Then she started acting hysterically. She was screaming like banshees and said it was our fault we're leaving her, and she'll never recover. After putting the engagement on hold, she said she lost Hank and Jake. She said Hank flirted with her as they were trying to mend their friendship. She asked him to the party to figure out how they felt about each other after he revealed that he loved her, and she believed that she did. She planned to inform Jake later, when he found out about Hank. From me, they had a disagreement, and she didn't want to let him go, so she told Hank she couldn't break things off and tried to heal her relationship with her fiancé instead. They attempted to restore their relationship for months. Jake struggled with trust, and couples counseling didn't help.